Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in today's video, we are going to be reviewing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-31 loss versus the New Orleans Saints. So without further ado, guys, let's talk about it. I want to start by talking about the positives. The first player that I want to talk about is wide receiver Chris Godwin, who finished the day with 7 catches, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Chris Godwin continues to do Chris Godwin things. This is the breakout year that everybody expected Chris Godwin to have, from the front office to the coaching staff to the fan base. I think that he's even exceeding expectations to a certain degree. He now leads the NFL in touchdown receptions with 6. That could change depending on how the rest of these games go, but you guys know how it is. But so far, Chris Godwin, he's playing some really good football, and depending, considering how Mike Evans did in this game, he only had 3 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards, and 0 touchdowns. That's not a good stat line. It was nice to see Chris Godwin come in, still be a really, really solid passing option for this team, and just continue to have the really good momentum that he's built for himself, have the really good stat line, beef up his stats, and just continue to gain more confidence moving forward with his play. Next 2 players I want to highlight are running backs Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber. Now, these guys pretty much had the same exact stats. Ronald Jones finished with 9 carries, 35 yards, and no touchdowns. Peyton Barber finished with 8 carries, 32 yards, and 1 touchdown. The obvious difference there just being the 1 touchdown. Either one of those guys probably could have gotten it, but I like what these guys are still doing with the running game. I told you guys in a previous video, pay attention to who gets more carries between Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber. A lot of people agree at this point that Ronald Jones should be the starting running back, and I agree with you guys. I really think he does deserve more carries, but I will also say that Peyton Barber is playing just good enough and fighting just hard enough for the yards that he's getting to justify the carries that he's getting. So I understand, the reasoning for starting Ronald Jones, but I do understand why the coaching staff would still want to have this split, because Peyton Barber, he's still not playing bad, okay? He's still playing pretty good. Ronald Jones is playing better, but Peyton Barber, he's still giving you that little bit of change of pace back kind of option, that power back type of running back style. So I still understand why there's that split. I still would just like to see Ronald Jones be named the full-time starter, but that's just me. I'm sure a lot of you guys would agree with me down in the comment section below. Ronald Jones, he also did a little bit as a receiver today in this game. He had 2 receptions for 21 yards. That was the 3rd most receiving yards on the team. That's not good at all, but, Rojo continues to do really good things. He keeps on building up his confidence, which is really important for him, considering what happened last year with the Dirk Cutter-led coaching staff. So it's nice to see Rojo get going. Peyton Barber's doing just enough to have him still be a pretty decent option for the running game. So shout out to both those running backs. The running game is still looking solid. Next player I want to talk about is kicker Matt Gay. Just real quick, he made all of his kicks. That's awesome. You love to see that. Good job, Matt Gay. The next player that I want to talk about is quarterback Jameis Winston. Now, I know people are going to say, Jameis Winston didn't have a good game. His stat line, 15 of 27, 204 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. In my mind, that's a decent game. You didn't have any turnovers. That's always a good Jameis Winston day. And I know people are going to say, well, he should have had a couple turnovers, but he got some lucky breaks. Hey, quarterbacks get lucky breaks all the time. The point is he didn't have any turnovers. And people are going to say, well, he held on to the ball too long and this, that, and the other. You can say that he held on to the ball maybe a little bit too long in certain situations, but I will also say that his offensive line did him absolutely no favors in this game. He was getting pressured time in, time again. He got sacked 6 times in this game, and we will talk about the Buccaneers offensive line in this video. Don't you worry. But man, Winston, he was working with a rough set of stuff today. It wasn't easy for him. So shout out to Jameis. He didn't have a turnover, and he was getting killed out there, just absolutely mauled by the New Orleans Saints defensive line. So just shout out to him for surviving. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about on the positive note is the run defense. It wasn't perfect. This was by far the leakiest our run defense has been so far this year, but I will say, it was still okay. It wasn't perfect. They gave, I think, the 60, 70 yards to Alvin Kamara, and he was still a pretty decent threat in the receiving game, but considering, Alvin Kamara and the type of weapon he is, I think that they did a pretty decent job of containing him, all things considered. In terms of run defense, I think they did an okay job. Just continued to be great. The Buccaneers run defense was ranked number 1 coming into this game. That's probably going to change now. They're probably going to be like in the top 5 still. So just keep that going. Keep on building up the defensive lineman's confidence moving forward, and just keep on stopping the run, because it does help certain things. Now we can start talking about the negatives, and there were some negatives. The first thing I want to talk about is Vernon Hargreaves III. man, he did not have a good game today. He was mainly on Michael Thomas for most of the game, and Michael Thomas just absolutely shredded him. And Bruce Arians said this in his press conference. He said, we have some guys that are going out there, getting it, being physical, and we have some other guys that are being soft. I'm not going to name any names, but I do want to say that Vernon Hargreaves, he had a tough game, and pretty much so did the rest of the Buccaneers secondary. They came into this game ranked 31st in pass, defense, and man, it showed. They looked really, really not good in this game. Teddy Bridgewater had an absolute field day on this secondary, and Vernon Hargreaves III. Carlton Davis, he got ejected in this game. I don't think that was the right call personally, but it is what it is. Carlton Davis got ejected, and man, after he got ejected, just all hell broke loose, okay, man? It was bad. It was really, really bad. Vernon Hargreaves, he was getting beat left, right, and center. Sean Murphy-Bunting, yes, he did have the interception, but man, he also wasn't doing a whole heck of a lot. MJ Stewart, he did fine, I think. He wasn't targeted too much, but he also wasn't out there for a whole heck of a lot either. Mike Edwards struggled in this game. Jordan Whitehead, I think he played an okay game. He did drop an interception, which you never like to see, but man, that secondary really struggled in this game. Teddy Bridgewater, again, I can't stress it enough, had an absolute field day, and it was just unfortunate. So I don't know what's going to happen with the secondary. You have all these draft picks invested in the secondary. Almost every single player on this secondary right now is a former draft pick, at least from the 4th round and up. So I don't know what to say anymore. Do you trade for a veteran corner? Do you go out and do you sign a veteran corner? I have no idea. There's been some rumblings that, maybe Bruce Arians will trade for Patrick Peterson. Hey, maybe he will, maybe he won't. I have no idea. I would welcome Patrick Peterson in a heartbeat, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Carlton Davis, it really sucked. It looked like that he was our best cornerback out there, considering, when he left, again, all hell broke loose. So shout out to Carlton Davis. I don't think he should have gotten ejected, but it is what it is. Hopefully Carlton Davis can come back and continue to have some good football, because I think that they missed his physicality. I really do think they missed that. I think that if he was out there going up against Michael Thomas, I think that they would have had a way better time, considering how physical Carlton Davis is. I think that it would have made things a lot tougher for Michael Thomas, but again, it is what it is. He got ejected. He was out of the game. It was very unfortunate. We missed Carlton Davis very much. The rest of the Buccaneers secondary did not compensate for that loss, and it was one of the biggest reasons why we lost this game, if not the reason. Next thing I want to talk about is the pass rush. Didn't get there a whole heck of a lot today. Shaq Barrett, he was getting double teamed a lot, and basically what I saw from this game was if you double team Shaq Barrett, your pass rush was non-existent, at least in this game. We've seen these guys get to the quarterback in other games like Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh. We know they can get to the quarterback, they just didn't in this game. I think that really what you can chalk a lot of this up to it in all these aspects is that the Buccaneers just got outplayed at all 3 levels of the game, in special teams, on offense, and on defense. They were just outplayed, and the lack of pass rush was another example of that. The Saints offensive line just manhandled the Buccaneers defense. They did get through a couple of times, but they just couldn't wrap up Teddy Bridgewater, which is a big thing for me, is that if you're going to get to the quarterback, wrap him up. Teddy Bridgewater was evading sacks, and it was just really upsetting to see. A lot of this game was upsetting to see. You guys all know that. So hopefully the pass rush can bounce back against the Carolina Panthers. Shaq Barrett especially, I'd love to see him get 10 sacks. He was held in check this game, and I think that not only will Shaq Barrett bounce back in a humongous way versus the Carolina Panthers in London, but I think that the rest of the pass rush will get a little bit of a bounce back against Carolina as well. We can talk about the offensive line, and man, the offensive line was bad. It was really not good, guys. It was not good, especially the tackles positions. Donovan Smith struggled in this game. DeMar Dodson struggled mightily in this game, like we've been talking about before. And I will say, DeMar Dodson, he was injured. He probably shouldn't, he might not even been able to play in this game due to the injuries injury that he's dealing with. But man, he went out there, he played, and he struggled mightily. And I don't think that, injury is an excuse. He went out there, he decided that he was going to play. The coaches decided that they were going to play him, and he did not deliver again. DeMar Dodson just continues to struggle. They did bench him at one point, put in Josh Wells, and Cameron Jordan immediately blew by Josh Wells to get a sack on Jameis Winston, and it just wasn't good, man. It wasn't good. The offensive line continued to struggle, gave up 6 sacks in this game. You can't do that and win a football game. You guys all know that. So Hopefully the offensive line can bounce back against Carolina again. Carolina is down some of their most important defensive linemen, so hopefully they can have a good game. Just continue to work on that communication, man. Just get better. Just get better, man. I don't know the ins and outs of being an offensive lineman. I'm sure that it is very difficult to do, but, continue to just get better, guys. That's all I can ask of you at this point, and, let's just see what happens versus Carolina. You gotta block better. You really gotta block better. Finally, last thing that I want to talk about are the referees. And I don't think that the referees are the main reason that the Buccaneers lost this game. And I'm not as mad about these calls anymore considering the game that the Buccaneers just put up in general. But I will say there were a couple of missed calls. There was an offensive pass interference call on Michael Thomas that was not called. It should have been called. Even Bruce Arians said, if that's not offensive pass interference, I have no idea what is. And then second, the muffed punt or the fumble that was caused by TJ Logan on a punt return. It was recovered by Anthony Auclair. Everybody saw him recover that fumble, and the referees came away and said, oh, we don't know who recovered the ball. Maybe the guy who came out of the pile with the ball recovered the ball. Just my thoughts here, but I have no idea. It just continues this poor officiating that we've been seeing this year from the NFL. I genuinely have no idea what they're going to do because everybody is mad about it. From the fans, to the coaches, to the front office staff, former players, you name it, people are mad about it. And it seems like these referees just aren't getting it. Like, how they aren't getting it. And, every single fan base complains about it. Every single coach complains about it. And, if I was Commissioner Goodell, I would heavily consider looking into this referee problem and trying to find a solution because it just seems like it's getting worse and worse every single year. The Buccaneers, they were on the downside of a couple of calls here, but honestly, like I said, I'm not even that mad about it considering the rest of the game the Buccaneers put up. It was just a struggle all around, and it was just not even close to the Buccaneers game today. And guys, this is the note I'm going to end it on is I know we're all upset. I know we're all mad. Don't give up. The Buccaneers are still 2-3. We're only 5 games in. We still have 11 games left on the year. We got to relax. We just got to move on to Carolina. The Buccaneers still have a chance to do some really awesome things this year. Get a winning record. Go to the playoffs. Do not count them out under any circumstances. Teams have these kind of games where they are just outplayed. The Buccaneers had a game like that today against the New Orleans Saints, one of the best teams in the NFL right now. And I know you're going to say, oh, he was a backup quarterback. I understand that Teddy Bridgewater is a backup quarterback, but he's also a former first-round draft pick and a really highly touted quarterback around the league. Bruce Arians himself said that Teddy Bridgewater should be a starting quarterback in this league and that he absolutely loves Teddy Bridgewater in the game that he brings to the NFL. It's just a situation of, the Buccaneers were just outplayed by an insanely talented New Orleans Saints team who is a Super Bowl favorite. They should have been in the Super Bowl last year, and they just continue to do really good things this year. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Let's just all rally together, move on to Carolina, and let's just get some things going, guys, okay? But hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next video or the next live stream, I'll see you guys in the next one. But until then, and as always, goodbye for now, guys, and go Bucs.